Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered if seeing someone touched could make you feel something too? Well, this new study dives deep into exactly that. Today we're exploring a fascinating study about vicarious touch, that is when you feel or experience touch just by seeing it happen to someone else. Think about watching a movie and feeling a little bit of that hug or pat, even though nothing touched you. Scientists think this vicarious touch is super important for understanding others, for empathy, and for how we connect socially. But studying it has been tricky because there just aren't many really good picture sets or videos that researchers can use consistently. Imagine trying to do a science experiment without standardized equipment. It is chaos. That is where our researchers, Hanan Ez-zahraoui and Louise Kirsch, come in. They noticed this problem and decided to create something new, the SoTact database. This isn't just any collection of photos. They specifically designed it to help us understand how observing touch affects us. They wanted to create pictures that showed positive social touch, like a gentle hug or a comforting pat. But to really understand how meaningful these social touch pictures are, you need to compare them to something. So they created two control groups of pictures. One was social no touch, where people were in a social situation but didn't actually touch each other. This helps them figure out if it is the social interaction itself, or the touch that makes a difference. The other control was non-social touch, where people might be interacting with an object in a way that mimics touch, like holding a box. This helps them make sure they're looking at the effect of human touch, not just any kind of touch. A really neat part of their plan was making sure the pictures represented different kinds of relationships, not just one type of pair. They used 3 different actor dyads, 2 females, and a male and a female. This gender balance is important to avoid any bias. So how did they make these pictures? They got 6 actors, 3 men and 3 women, and had them pose for several scenarios. They didn't show faces in the pictures, which is smart because faces can convey a lot of emotion and might distract from the touch itself. They wanted the focus to be purely on the interaction and the touch. They photographed gestures like hugging, patting someone's arm or shoulder, and holding hands. For the social no-touch pictures, they tell the actors to get close, to mime the actions, but stop just before contact, creating a visual tension of an interaction yet to happen. For non-social touch, they used props like a basket, a shirt, or a box, so the actors were interacting with these objects as if they were touching another person. All the photos were taken professionally and then made into black and white and carefully adjusted to be consistent. In the end, they had 72 pictures in total, 24 for each of the 3 conditions. Now, having the pictures is one thing, but how do you know if they're actually working as intended? You have to test them. The researchers had 29 people look at these pictures online. They asked them to rate each picture on 3 things: how positive or negative it felt, how natural it seemed, and how intense or arousing it was. They did this twice, with a little break in between, to see if people's opinions were consistent with themselves. They also included some attention checks to make sure people were really focused. After collecting all the ratings, they did some number crunching. They removed anyone who wasn't paying attention or who responded too quickly or too slowly, ending up with a final group of 16 participants. They then looked at how consistent people were in their ratings over the 2 sessions and how consistent everyone was with each other. This helped them understand the reliability of the data. One of the first things they checked was intra-subject consistency. This basically means were people consistent with themselves when they rated the pictures the second time compared to the first time. The results were really good here, especially for how positive or negative the pictures felt. The correlations were high, meaning most people felt pretty much the same way about a picture both times they saw it. This is a great sign that the pictures are clear and evoke similar feelings. Then they looked at intersubject consistency. This asks, were all the different people in their study rating the pictures similarly to each other? This is where things got a bit more varied. For how positive or negative the pictures felt, there was a moderate agreement among participants. For how natural the pictures seemed, the agreement was actually lower, and for how intense or arousing the pictures felt, people were pretty consistent with each other. This difference between ratings is interesting. It suggests that while people might agree on whether a touch looks pleasant, they might have different ideas about what looks natural in a still photo or how intense it feels. They also checked inter-actor consistency, which is about how consistent the ratings were between different pairs of actors in the photos. This turned out to be really high, especially for the social touch pictures. This suggests that the way the actors portrayed the touch was perceived similarly across different dyad combinations. Now, for the big findings, when they looked at the ratings for the different types of pictures, a major pattern emerged. The type of stimulus condition, meaning whether it was social touch, social no touch, or non-social touch, had a huge impact on how people rated the pictures. But importantly, the gender of the actors in the pictures, or the combination of genders, didn't seem to make a significant difference in the ratings. This means their gender balancing strategy worked, and they weren't seeing biases based on who was in the photo. Here is the main takeaway for Valence. Pictures showing actual social touch were rated as very positive. This is exactly what they expected. The non-social touch pictures, where people were touching an object, were rated as pretty neutral, which also fit their hypothesis. But the social no-touch pictures, where people were close but not touching, were rated as slightly negative. This was a surprise. The researchers think that without the actual touch, the social interaction in these photos might feel incomplete or even a bit awkward, leading to that slightly negative rating. What about naturalness? They found that the social touch pictures were seen as the most natural. The social no-touch and non-social touch pictures were rated as neutral in terms of naturalness. This is good news for their control conditions, as it means they didn't look bizarre or obviously staged in a way that would make them unusable. They were just, well, neutral. And how about arousal or intensity? Social touch pictures were rated as the most arousing, meaning they were more intense or emotionally engaging. The social no-touch pictures were rated as neutral in arousal, and the non-social touch pictures were rated as the least arousing. This makes sense. Seeing a comforting touch can be more emotionally impactful than seeing someone reaching for a box or getting ready for a hug that never happened. So, what does all this mean? The SoTact database seems to be a solid tool for researchers. It provides a consistent way to study how we react to seeing touch. The fact that social touch pictures were rated positively in Valence and as natural is a strong validation. The control conditions also worked well in showing differences, even though the social no-touch pictures came out slightly negative. This itself is an interesting finding that can inform future research. It highlights how crucial actual touch is for positive social interaction. One limitation they mentioned is that they use still pictures, not videos. Videos can show motion and dynamics, which might be more ecological or true to life, especially for those social no-touch scenarios which are all about an interaction that is incomplete. Since they were static, it was harder for people to agree on how natural they seemed. Also, this study was conducted with French participants, and they rightly point out that culture can play a role in how touch is perceived, so future studies in different cultures would be valuable. They also suggest that including pictures of negative social touch, like an aggressive touch or an untrustworthy touch, would make the database even more comprehensive. But the big win here is the SoTact database itself. It is now available for other scientists to use, which is fantastic for advancing research in this exciting area of social cognition. By having standard, validated stimuli, researchers can now conduct more reliable experiments to understand the subtle yet powerful way we connect through observing touch. It opens doors for exploring everything from how we empathize with others to how important touch is for our well-being. So, the next time you see a comforting pat on the back in a movie or a photo, remember that your brain is doing some pretty amazing work processing that visual information, and it is thanks to research like this that we're starting to understand just how and why it happens. What do you think about vicarious touch? Do you ever feel a simulation of touch when you see it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you found this video interesting. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more deep dives into the fascinating world of the human mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.